Well, hello and welcome to the unofficial Unreal Engine podcast, where we talk about all things Unreal Engine and also disappointing season finales that run out of budget. I mean, come on, what is this? We're not even in our Light Twist virtual studio today, but for what we lack in technical resources, we're making up for in human resources. We've got a wonderful crowd of people here, and this finale, of course, is in partnership with the best and only authorized. This is the unofficial podcast and the only authorized Unreal Engine training center in Manhattan, which happens to be run by yours truly. We are the best and the worst and everything in between. We are combining a few things. We're killing two birds with one stone, if you will, which is a terrible phrase. I'd rather like feeding two birds with one worm or something like that. We're trying to sate the people who want more UE tips and tricks from the I wish I learned this sooner talk given at Unreal Fest Prague. We have folks from Agile Lens here today who are all instrumental in making that happen. But we also want to put a nice cap on the Unreal Games Fellowship, which just wrapped up, which was fantastic. I had the fortunate opportunity to teach some of the fine people here today. And we're also just going to talk about Unreal Fest Seattle, talk tips and tricks, as well as have some fun chatting with our very special guests here today, which include Corey Williams, friend of the show already, Matt Workman, who we're definitely going to have on a full episode at another point, and secret guest, William Belcher, who's one of my favorite people, and probably not many people here know him, so I'm excited to talk more about that. But first, hi, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Excellent.
Woo!
Yeah. We're wrapping up the summer here. We're just going to have a good time hanging out and having fun. Very briefly for our special guests, for anyone who might not be familiar, let's go Corey, Matt, and then I'll say something about Will. And if Will wants to say something about him as well, we can do that. Go ahead, Corey.
Sure. My name is Corey Williams. I'm a virtual production specialist, motion capture specialist with many years of YouTube and social media experience. So I've gotten older, got into this space, and now have been working hard to immortalize myself, so I don't have to worry about the way that I look, and continue to reach out to the audiences that I choose.
Excellent. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, what's your YouTube channel that has like all these views you're talking about on LinkedIn? I need to find that.
I got 7 of them.
7. Well, I thought I had a lot. That is way more. I need to find out what the one is that has all the views though. Oh, sorry.
Well, that one, the newest one, just for kids. There you go. Good.
I still want to watch it though. But anyway, yeah, my name is Matt Workman. Was a cinematographer for about 10 years, and then moved into kind of virtual production in Unreal Engine. And now I'm pretty much a full-time Unreal Engine dev and just make lots and lots of Unreal Engine stuff. Have a new app hitting Steam in the next month, hopefully. Try to get a decent early release prototype out and going to Unreal Fest in Seattle.
Yeah. I've been a huge fan of Corey for many years, ever since his earliest viral YouTube videos. Matt, I've been a huge fan of ever since the early presentations he gave on Cinetracer, and been following both of them ever since. We also have Jacob. Jacob, after a bit of a hiatus from the podcast. Jacob, say hello to everyone.
Hey, it's good to be back. It's been a while. It's been a good while, but it's great to see so many faces on the call.
Yeah,
I'm excited to get to know everyone here a little better. I see a few faces I recognize already, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah. And then William Belcher, who I want to introduce to everyone, works for a fine little company called TensorWorks. TensorWorks, for those who don't know, over in Australia, is among many other brilliant activities. They maintain the pixel streaming plugin for Unreal Engine. And so in addition to allowing for all the cool pixel streaming that happens on services like Pure Web and Arcane Mirage and Eagle 3D streaming and all that, they have very kindly, I'm just going to say out of the goodness of the heart, pushed some initiatives forward that I've been very passionate about, such as WebXR pixel streaming. And they have made some really excellent progress on that in just the last few days. And I had a very successful test last night using their latest push to the main Unreal Engine GitHub of 5.5 with confident, good-looking WebXR pixel streaming, basically going to a website in my browser. It could be in an Apple Vision Pro, it could be in a MetaQuest, it could be in any VR headset, and just going to the IP address of my office computer and getting a very solid VR experience from that. And Marshall, who's here from Agile Lens, he also tested it out last night. all the way from Arizona. So he was remoting in through a VR headset to our office computer in New York, and he had a great time with that. So I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to Will Belcher here, who has been really pushing that initiative forward, and we're grateful for it. Will, I don't know if you're able to turn on your camera or if you want to say hi, but I want to give you a chance to do so.
Yeah, I can't do the camera. Sorry, I'm still working at the moment, but I'll quickly jump on the mic and say, yeah, thank you. It's been a fun little side project for us at TensorWorks. I started it, like I did the original development for it, but due to priority shifting, I've been shifted off it, and my colleague and director of TensorWorks, Luke, has now taken over and really pushed its quality forward and made sure that it's on par with a local XR experience.
Yeah, that's all incredibly appreciated. I also want to allow everyone else who's on camera to briefly introduce themselves. We have a wonderful coterie of people from the recently wrapped Unreal Games Fellowship. Let's start with Kat. Tell us briefly who you are.
Yeah, hi. I'm Kat Craig. I'm a senior UI UX designer in the games industry. I've been doing it for about 15 years. I worked with some cool companies like Larian, Nintendo, Xbox, and I've most recently completed the Epic Games Unreal Fellowship, and I made my very first level in a game, which was really awesome.
Excellent. Let's go over to Flo.
Hello, everyone. Trying to channel my Ed there.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, so pleasant. Hi, I am Flo Young. I am an art director in the games industry. I've had about 10 years of experience now, and I'm also a concept artist. I also do 3D art. I love how you mentioned that Matt did a lot of clothing, and I don't know if you use Marvelous Designer, but I love that program for making clothes. Super awesome. But yeah, I was one of the cohorts for the Unreal Fellowship that just recently ended, well, ending this Friday, and it was such a blast. I did not expect to be solo deving my very first game for 3 weeks. What an incredible ride. It was very hard, but I'm very proud of myself for what I have.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
fantastic, Flo. Let's go over to Hone.
Hi everyone, my name's Juan, and I'm a technical artist. I worked at Virtuous for 5 years, and my main jobs was assistant artist. I wrote tools and programs for pipeline, started with DCC stuff, but then gravitated toward a full-fledged pipeline application. I contributed to projects like Ride 4, Lego Star Wars Castaway, and I just graduated from the fellowship together with Kat and Flo and Rudy and Alexis. And I'm thrilled to be here. Nice to be with you all.
Excellent. Thank you, Juan. And Alexis.
Yeah, just like the others, I just recently finished the fellowship. I currently work as a 3D character artist for Spry Fox at Netflix. And yeah, it was amazing. I got to make my own level for a game, which I was not expecting to do either. I thought I was just going to get Unreal training. So that was pretty awesome. And it's been cool to take some of the stuff I've learned and already start to apply it to work. So that's also been a big help to me. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Ruti.
Hi, Alex was my TA for the program. I'm going to just start with that prior to even jumping into who I am, because what does it matter? Because Alex is the man. Like you said, my name is Rudy. I am a game designer and narrative connoisseur. My background in game development started back with tabletops, doing a lot of work for D&D, some other ancillaries, a little bit of White Wolf stuff. And I got really interested in, I guess, what we would call pen and paper design. Did a lot of the mechanics and all of that stuff. So I understand game design at a certain level, but Unreal kind of takes that to a whole other level, because then when you start looping in blueprints and sequencing and all of these other little, widgets, you just get you get to have so much more versatility and power behind what you do, but the curve is significant. It's almost an inverted loop when you come down to like, oh, I really need to be explicit, or like, oh, this thing it already knows. That's a default. And you just don't know any of those things until you get in there. So even if you have this, well advanced understanding of game flow and design in those avenues, it's still its own beast, and it needs to be treated both with kindness, all with kindness, respect, and a little bit of trepidation when you're going into things. And you got to have a really good memory for every single checkbox that you may or may not recognize. And I'm sure at some point we'll get to the what do I wish I knew sooner portion of this.
Oh, yeah.
But to finish off my venture into game dev, obviously, Dungeons and Dragons is also a lot of writing, a lot of creative writing, and I that was my segue into video game development, was coming into narrative as a writer and then as a lead and a director and certain things. And I was recently working on some stuff with 2K. I've worked for NCSoft, um, you know, some MMO stuff with Dungeons and Dragons. And I also do a lot of voiceover and all that. And then the other fun fact, which I'm going to wrap it up with, is I was in the Army for a not insignificant amount of time. I have a deployment under my belt, and I was a combat medic on Blackhawks, which was almost the same as learning Unreal.
Yes, amazing.
Thank you for your service.
Amazing. Also, fun fact: Rudy and I happen to live like 20 minutes away from each other. We're both a little north of New York City. Still haven't met in person yet. We'll have to get a
still haven't
coffee or
gotten
something
coffee.
sometime. But yeah, Rudy was fantastic. And I think maybe one of the only fellows who came into the fellowship with like, I have a screenplay, like I have like a movie here that wants to be a game. And the way that he weaved in that world into the game he was building, I thought was really, really cool. And I mean, really, before we let everyone talk a little bit more about the fellowship experience individually, let me just zoom out for a second to say I loved the variety of the ways people approached what they wanted to focus on, not just the different templates that were available, everything from like a rail shooter to a walking simulator to I'm trying to remember all of them offhand. There were so many different ones. I mean, we had fighting games, we had flyover third person things all over the place, and not just the mechanics themselves, but I want to say the tone and the vibes and the sense of some people wanting to do like a really polished vertical slice and other people trying to do more like a prototype or an MVP that gives you a larger sense of what the game is going for, and you see that there's a lot of placeholder assets that are going to be replaced. Amazing. I just was so impressed by everyone's work, especially because so few people had extensive experience with Unreal Engine coming in. I'd like everyone to talk a little bit. Yeah, Flo says, and I tried to make a rhythm game. Exactly. I mean, everyone here had an incredible showcase last week. I was totally blown away. Everyone had trailers they had to show off, and then some people also allowed for gameplay. And anyone who wants to give a little trailer or gameplay or whatever they want today, please do. Happy to talk about that. To zoom out for the fellowship very briefly, we're going to talk about the fellowship. We're going to talk about Unreal Fest Seattle. Then we'll do this. I wish I learned this sooner, part 2 stuff. I was surprised myself, this being my first fellowship, how much content there was. Like, I assumed that most of the time you guys would be like just working and building your games, and a bunch of us would be kind of on call to just answer questions when needed. But this was more like school. Like, you guys had classes to go to, and there were sessions, early in the morning, and then these big labs where like you had to be there with, help and learning particular things and working on the templates. And there wasn't as much time as I would have expected for you guys to just kind of be in your own headspace, just building your game. So anyone who wants to just chime in, I'm curious how the fellowship compared to what you expected, and how it felt. Did it feel good ultimately? Do you wish that there was some different variations on the structure? Would you do something like this again? Anyone take it away?
I can kind of jump in.
Yeah.
For me, like, absolutely, I would do this again. However, I do wish it was slightly longer. Just because, yeah, like for the first week or two, I was just kind of like digging in and learning and trying to absorb all of that knowledge. Whereas I feel like I didn't have as much time as I wanted to actually develop the game. So it really came together for me like the weekend before the last week, because I spent like the entire weekend just kind of developing it and working on it. And then like the last week, I ran into some issues and I felt like a lot of us were kind of laid out to dry a little bit. So it was a bit scary, but I would absolutely do it again, and I recommend it to anybody, seriously.
Yeah. Thanks, Kat. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go. uh, I would absolutely do this again. I absolutely echo what Kat said about potentially having a uh, maybe slightly reorganized uh, curriculum in which we did a lot more of the base level things at the beginning and front loaded it with a lot of learning, and then we're given the time with the additional TA support to help break down the issues that we were running into. And there's always like a process, and in Unreal, it is a very specific process. Like if you do it in the wrong order, it doesn't like you and will completely, gut anything that you've been doing. So for me in that space, it would have been I feel like it would have been helpful to do as Kat, alluded to there, and like really have us like focused and intentional classes going through those hands-on exercises, which we did do. It was just a little bit more fragmented, I think, and a little bit more like it's really awesome to see animation stuff and how to move through sequencing and stuff. But when we don't know what blueprints are, it's not really something that we're gonna take as much away from. And then my as again Kat said, like having those last weeks and maybe it being a little bit longer for us to get in there and build would definitely reduce the amount of stress that a lot of us felt towards the back end. Like for me, I had some significant issues with the engine that ended up basically causing me to have to restart with about a week and a half left. So Alex can tell you that not only did I come in with a screenplay and my GDD essentially done before we even started, I also ended up cutting about a third of what was in that, which I thought was not necessarily an unmanned. I didn't think I was, too pie in the sky, but the specific things that I needed to address, we didn't necessarily get to until the second or third week, in which case I had to throw everything out. And, I was fortunate that my map I had built in a different project, so I didn't have to toss that baby, but the rest of the bathwater went.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people ended up in a position where they were cutting things that they thought might have been like crucial parts of their gamer experience, and yet to the unknowing observer, to the layman, they just see what you made and it looks amazing. Matt, Corey, have either of you ever had to cut something before in something you were building?
Dude, yeah, no, that is a.
Oh, we just lost you, Corey. Sorry, you muted.
He tapped his mute button.
He touched it. Yeah.
Sorry,
Touch it.
I was trying to swipe over. Yeah, like I was doing for a little while, doing the 48-hour film challenges, for the 48-hour film project, and I was just going gutsy on it, right? And of course, like same thing, it would happen. Like I'm like, okay, I've got this big idea. Go! You just have to hit the ground running. You have to make an entire short film in 48 hours. And so there was a lot of stuff that I had to completely pull out because, like, I wanted to do it legit. And so, but what really helps is every time that happened, it helped me learn what needs to be better and what is not important. Yeah, and that's right. What helped me, my workflow speed up, because I go, oh, wait, if I do it this way and focus on this, I can get to 70% faster. And that was, those were big game changers. So that's good that that happened to you. Like, I hope that happens to everybody at some point so you can really learn. If it's perfect, what do you learn?
Yeah. I agree completely, and Alex, echoed very much of that. Is that's okay? You can cut, like it's fine. You can just keep moving, cut. You'll know what you're basically your minimum viable product, the most crappy product, right, that you can put out. And also, your game may shift and adjust based on what you have available. Like my game initially had 3 characters, and then was going to break down to just one character that could command the other two. And now is a single character platform move, standard thing like that. But either way, at least I'm getting to the finish line, and that's what's important.
Yeah. I'm really curious actually to hear from Matt, because like the things that Matt creates, I mean, he's an innovator. Like I came into this space, like Corey Strasburger got me into like, oh wow, this is a thing you can do. Matt's the one that got me into, oh, there's actually a community based around it, because Facebook, you run the group, but also learning about the tools. Used to? Well, you're still a big part of the community regardless of how things are. But the thing is with you, I'm so curious to hear from you. Given the direction of the type of things you create, do you deal with this in the same in a way?
Yeah, I mean, before I had Perforce and was backing up regularly, I lost a good month once, like a month, and it feels bad, but almost definitely every time you rewrite a framework or redo something that you've like just done, that second iteration is like much better. So in a way, it's kind of good to just be like, here's like throw a ton of stuff out there, and it's like you find like a couple good things and just like, okay, trash it, do it again, do it again. And I feel like I've been making the same kind of projects for a while with like virtual cameras and stuff like that. And it's just like, I think it's better to just like destroy it and, build it again over and over again. Doesn't feel good, but I think it just usually comes out better.
You're because you become lean to the process.
Right.
The things that you do are more straightforward and streamlined. Like you know exactly what to do, and like when you find little things like, oh, this could have been better. Oh, now it has to be. Yeah, that's great to hear.
It's less scary once you've like seen it, which is why like YouTube videos, and it's so great that like the YouTube community is like so much bigger now. When I started, there were like no videos on this, so just like reading like cold docs and like header files, and it's like, how is this a game? But once you see it, it's like so much better. Like I like am not a keyframe animator. I am sort of now, like, but I don't come from that background, and I was just like terrified of sequencer for like so long and keyframing stuff. That's why I got into like mocap, which ended up turning into just keyframing again anyway. But just seeing that workflow over and over again, like like your videos and other people who do these things, it's like that helps me a lot. Just to see other people doing it, and then once you've done it a bunch of times, it's like, oh, it's not so bad to like rewrite like the entire like rewrite everything out of like better components and have better interfaces and just like over and over again.
I want to like poke on something Corey said there too, is like the getting leaner, like getting faster when you rebuild, getting into those things like that. Because like and you were mentioning also like a 48-hour film festival, thing. When I was in Hollywood, where I started learning how to write, that was really it. It's about what you leave out. It's about how much can you make work as cleanly as possible. How can you make that 120-page screenplay down into 90? And then how can you even in editing, like what are you cutting, what is the absolute minimum thing, how late can you get into the scene and how fast can you get out of it without losing the audience.
Cutting the fat, absolutely cutting the fat.
Yeah. Let's welcome our two newest guests. They're guests and they're guests. We have Robert Percival, another member of the Fellowship. Say hi, Robert.
Hello.
And very quickly, tell us about your game, who you are, where you're coming from, etc.
Oh God, I'm deep in it right now still. I'm making an asteroids game, was the arcade idea. That I wanted it to be fun and I wanted to build some systems and push some limits. So I mixed it with Snake in the end. So that's a bunch of little bits of ships that attach to you, follow you in a snake-like pattern while you're in an asteroid field. And then the follow-on from that. I would say right now I am so lost in Niagara because I love it. And I just keep adding effects. So that's been a lot of fun as far as the best thing I've learned. I forget if you were the one that taught me that. You might have been. Or it was James. But where I'm coming from is actually AAA space. So this has been really neat to start moving towards solo dev, which is what I'm intending to do. I had been a physics programmer and then core engine and gameplay for a long time.
Yeah, I was really delighted with how many people in the Fellowship seem to be coming from a place of specialization where they're like, I am a 3D modeler, whatever, I'm an art director. And then they're learning all these other aspects of how to build things, which, by the way, is a great segue into welcoming Corey Strasburger, an absolute legend who I think many of us have known about for a long time, going back to Kite and Lightning and Babylon, and of course, everything going on now with Xanadu. And that, of course, is a project that Corey started by doing entirely by himself. And now there's a DAO and there's more people involved. Say hi, Corey. How are you doing tonight? Oh, and you're muted.
How's it going, everyone?
Hey.
Familiar faces, few of them, some new people. Thanks, Alex, for showing me the link here. It's cool. I think I stepped into some fun conversation. So
yeah,
so,
it's right around where you're coming in. We were discussing instances where you need to, cut content, and maybe your ambitions are bigger than what is manageable at the moment. Is that something you've ever encountered before?
nah, not me.
Never, not even once.
always do exactly the right amount every time.
Yeah. Fantastic. Just hitting again as we kind of wrap up our little segment here on the Unreal Games Fellowship. Anyone have any takeaways? Anything they feel like they really were nutrientized? They feel like, I mentioned I am running on very little sleep, so I'm going to be making up a lot of words tonight. What felt nourishing, and like what did you take away as like this was great? And what are the things where you're like, oh boy, if I could go back and do that again, here's a couple of things that I would maybe do differently. Any thoughts on that?
I would go.
Yeah, go ahead, Juan.
I myself wanted to do a lot in my game as well. But one way I trick my mind to somehow reconcile the discrepancy between what I wanted to do and what I managed realistically to do is to think that this is merely a start. 4 weeks, it feels long, but basically it's nothing. So I try to think that this is merely a very good dive in. So for me, it starts a new journey into solo dev. Instead of thinking I have to wrap up something really super duper fantastic executable for the Unreal Fest. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh
Anyone
my
else?
God. Can you please describe your game though? Because I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, I would like to show you guys some demo of it later. It's really silly. I've have some progress with it over the past days. The last week, the fourth week, I think all of us lack sleep severely, and then there was a couple of days right after the fellowship festival. It was really silent, and I think like all of us try to get make up for our sleep, our lack of sleep, that is. And but after that, I think we are slowly getting to put into more stuff into our game, refactoring and polishing. Yeah, I would like to show you guys a bit some sneak peek of my game later, if that's okay, Alex. Yeah.
Anytime.
It's a dinosaur skating on cars, and
like
I had a great time pulling the physics for the dinosaur on the cars and then the riders on the dinosaur. Yeah, that's fun. I didn't think that I could implement that. I wish that I could do so, but I for the time of my life at the start of the fellowship, I didn't think how I could go about that, but I slowly tackling it, and finally I could pull it off. So that's a very thing that I'm glad for this 4 weeks fellowship.
Yeah. Well, I want to stay on that question of sleep and work and productivity very briefly and kind of throw this to our panel of experts of Corey and Matt. When we had Corey Williams on the podcast, we talked about Corey's remarkable ability to go to sleep and continue to get work done and then wake up and continue. Not all of us do have that ability, but where do you guys kind of find that line of like, I am in a flow state, it's 4 a.m. in the morning, but I don't care, I'm still going, versus like, I really need to get some rest, and knowing, where that balance is going to be, making something amazing, but also making sure you're not in a state like I am right now, where I half believe I'm just in a dream right now. Go ahead.
Being excited.
Mm-hmm.
Being excited on what's coming and knowing the whole process of how it's going to go, and being realistic about how things are going to be. Like, don't let yourself fall because of mistakes you're having now. let yourself fall when you're done and you've already put it out, because the fun is the creation of the process. Like the fun is here, right? Like I actually have a harder time letting go of something and being done with something than I am when I'm creating it. So how do I stay focused though? It's like drink lots of water, try to get good sleep cycles in, even if they're small. Know your body. I mean, that's it. But don't do that very often. That's how you lead to burnout in other ways that are very unhealthy for yourself. But that's me. That's my way.
Yeah.
I
Corey or Matt, any thoughts? Or Flo?
I was just going to mention on the topic of sleep.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have experienced this before, but while learning a new program, like years ago when I was learning Blender coming from Maya, I just kept having dreams of myself in the viewport clicking away in Blender, and the same thing has happened with me with Unreal. I lost so much sleep just like trying to think about what's my next game plan. How can I implement the logic that I'm thinking about with which nodes? And I'm just deep in my spaghetti dreams.
So Flo, that's actually a really interesting thing that you do that. So I'm a lucid dreamer. I
Mm.
have the ability to actually tell myself exactly what I'm supposed to do every single night. And so when I go to sleep, that's what I do as I do that. And I've trained, I mean, this has been before Unreal Engine, just many years I've just been doing it. So I'm hardwired this way. Also, severe ADHD allows me this. But like in that situation, day naps, like for you, if you ever find yourself in a really hard problem, you're like, if you take a nap for like literally like 20 minutes, set your alarm for 20 minutes, you'll wake up with the answer more times than not. It's really cool, especially if you dream at night like that. Give it a shot.
Oh my God, I love that answer. I will definitely do that. I love napping so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's a statistically shown or scientifically shown that like if you're learning a lot of heavy information, especially new projects, new things, the languages, all that sort of stuff, if you get real heavy into that, you stop and you take naps, it helps a lot. Like with retaining, it's just something with our brains that allows that. So your learning process can be much faster than you would expect.
Yeah, I definitely second what Corey just said there. Yeah, it will retain more information. Our brain, it works in the background really well. Over the past days, what I in my dreams, I believe it's all about wiring blueprint node and then placing and creating new classes for the past week. That's all I dreamed of.
I find that one of the hardest parts of any project is really just deciding when to call it quits. Like 2, 3 a.m. You're working on the same problem. You're convinced, you're one step away from solving it, and then at some point you just call it quits. And the most frustrating part isn't that; it's waking up the next day with the answer and realizing you could have gotten 2 extra hours of sleep because you probably would have thought of that sooner. But
100%.
that's just part of the process.
Quick follow-up for you, Jacob, because you've been traveling a lot this year. How do you deal with jet lag in different time zones and still making sure you can function?
Yeah, it's never easy. I would say the best part of working in tech is that usually if you wake up an hour later, no one's going to get on you too bad.
Mm.
So really, going within the US, it's not such a big deal, right? 3 hours back, 3 hours forward. You just kind of block off your meetings in the mornings or vice versa. But it's never easy, and I would say that the biggest thing is the lack. You lose so much productivity as a result of it, and that's definitely frustrating because you'll lose not just from flying, but just recovering from travel. I would say is always a non-starter if you want to pick up a big project, something you've been wanting to start, or getting back to like personal projects. I find extremely challenging when it's your routine isn't a part of it, because I think routine and creativity are kind of two two commingled things in a big way. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah. Traveling, Matt, it looks like you were getting ready to talk there. Go ahead.
So I just went to the dentist. My tooth is kind of sore. I'm like, sorry if I was like mouth breathing into the.
Oh, sorry.
I'm all set.
Okay. No. So traveling, here's one thing that I've kind of learned as well for myself, just YouTube years and all of that sort of stuff, because like I get real itchy about creating. Whenever I travel, I've kind of gotten in the habit of saying, I am not going to create today. And today I'm going to consume. Like today I'm going to shut off the creative and I'm going to work on consuming content that is going to help me, whether that be like really great audiobooks that help me in the situation that I'm in, listening to another story that somebody else has that I can pull some inspiration from in some way, shape, or form. Anything to build it yourself. And even then, it's like you could even take those other times instead of learning, take a break, take time for yourself. Go play that game you've been wanting to play that you never touch. You know, surely everybody's got at least one Steam game they've downloaded once and never opened. Like give it a shot. Yeah. So, but yeah, allow yourself that time to relax or to take in that inspiration. It's instead of working, because if you can't work, don't relax.
Totally.
Yeah,
I've been banging my head against the wall with some input issues with the the joystick, the controller. For it feels like for days, probably is days. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the excuse that I need to test my controllers in something else. And I kicked up Steam and played a little bit of Hades just to be like, okay, it works, But I actually, Corey, it's so fascinating that you're talking about the lucid dreaming thing, because it works like that for me in writing and in story. Like I can, if I shut off, I will literally have the dream that gives me the answer for whatever that act break was or whatever that thing is. But I don't think my brain is acclimated yet to Unreal enough to be able to like, oh, it's this node. How do you get to that? Either Corey, either Matt, whoever.
It's not nodes. I don't dream in nodes. Like I dream in different outcomes of ways to do things. Like the node is just another form of saying something. So you just have to figure out in Unreal Engine, like, what do you want to say and what is the right question to ask to make it do the thing, right? And I don't know if that made any sense, but that's kind of the way that I see it. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to make this box rotate and then go this way and go this way, what are different mechanisms I can use? And so I dream with mechanisms rather than code. And then once I wake up, I go, this thing that could do this. And then try to figure out, how do you say that in a language with blueprints? Does that make sense? That sounds like crazy, but that's my brain.
I actually think that's a really good point, because for me, I can't lucid dream at will at night, but I generally just will get up and go for a short walk. And when I start thinking about the problem, it's not so much like what node will be the thing. What it'll do for me is like, oh, if I think about it this way or think about it this way, and then when I sit down, I go and look for potentially nodes or things that'll do that. But it's mostly how do you kind of approach the problem that just having a break will kind of enlighten. And that happens all the time. Like if I'm just grinding on something, I'll literally just get up, go for a walk. And as I rethink about it almost every time, it's like I come back with a good idea, or I know what to look for when I get back into the engine to try to find something.
You know the meme, I need to take a stupid walk for my stupid mental health? Never seen that?
No.
Yeah,
that's one me and my wife talk about all the time. It's like you just have to get out and go outside, because otherwise I'd be at the computer the whole time. I was gonna say that I have multiple live projects on Steam and different platforms. So at any time I can basically hop into my Discord or Instagram or any channels, and there's a lot of people that would like me to do things, and it's just pretty much picking what the majority of people have said is broken, or they want. They're dead game, why isn't this getting just all across the platform. It's so it's kind of sifting through that and figuring out what's going to cross off the most in a good way, those things. Once you have live products out there, I think drives a lot of it. And then for new projects, I post pretty much demos every day, and if some of them pick up steam, that'll be a feature that'll be live by the end of the month or something like that.
Recently, I've found that co-working has been helping a lot too. Getting people like I'll actually go on Discord with other creators, and we don't even say anything. We'll just be working on our projects. I'll be like, hey guys, what do you think of this? And then they'll be like, oh, do this. or like you go, man, I'm having this problem. And then sometimes because somebody else is there, you can talk to them and listen to yourself to find the problem, even if they're not the ones telling you what to do. And it's just so helpful. Like one of the greatest things about these fellowships isn't just the fact that you're learning, but it's the fact that you're learning together. It's that you're with other people and you can bounce those, you can share information, and it's so valuable. Even when you get to our level, like man, what is a level? There's no levels. It's your own personal level. But for me, this is where I'm like, I love being around people and having that. So that's such a great way too.
Yeah, love this. Go ahead, Flo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say how thankful I am for this fellowship because of all the amazing people that I met. Like, I feel like I could call most of our cohorts like really close friends because we all struggled together for so long and for so short too. I really hope that we could all keep in touch because not only did I get incredible amounts of help from the TAs and my mentor, but also from each other, from all sorts of um, people in the cohort. I know AJ was a really big help for me, especially earlier in my project. He helped me figure out some of the basic framework for my game, and also just Elena in my little team, Team Leon. Hey. She was really great in helping me just get started in the engine because I remember in the first week I was even too scared to jump into the engine for some reason. Um, but yeah, yeah, I'm just so proud to say that I have 50 new 50 new friends after this. It's really nice feeling.
And I really like that you guys made the effort to create a Discord after it ended. And I already saw today, I think Rudy and some other folks were using kind of the voice feature to, I assume, do some problem solving and kind of keep that community energy going, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it's.
sure.
I mean, this thing is great. Go ahead, Kat. It's your server.
I mean, it's all of our server, but yes, I went ahead and jumped in, created it, and
Well done,
it's
Kat.
it's really just because I know a lot of us have built some relationships. I mean, truth be told, I knew Flo and Rudy from LinkedIn, like we kind of are in the same circles, creating content and whatnot. But to get to know them, especially a little bit better, was super cool, and get to know them as people. And then I wanted to kind of have another platform where we could gather. I know that we'll have that Slack later on, but I wanted to keep our group together as one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had I mean, the amount of like hop to it that other people, because like Alex, you said that one of the things that you really liked was that we all kind of came from different disciplines, and almost nobody was an actual design discipline. We had a couple of engineers, we had a couple of narrative folk, Kat's a UI UX designer. We've got all of these people with all these specializations. So if you had a question, whomever it was that is in that discipline is usually really quick to be like, oh, here, let me help you with that. Like, this is very quick. Or this, and again, with Unreal, it's usually a checkbox you miss somewhere, right? Like you just, oh, that one thing. Or you forgot to connect that one thing down there. And it was just really helpful. And, the other great thing about having access to all the mentors, and this is maybe even better than like the courses specifically, but having access to Ed and Peter or Pete and Sean and Gabe, like they all have very specific things that they bring to the education that Epic puts together. And so if like there were times when Gabe came in to help me with post processor stuff because that's like his thing that he loves. So it was really great to have that, but also just all the other fellows that could pop in at a moment's notice to help you with something that is not there for you. And I almost felt bad because I'm coming from narrative and I'm like, well, I can help you with that, or I can help you with this, but it's like a 4-week sprint is a little tight to help 7 people crafting a narrative for their game. And it's like, I wish I've actually signed up to help a bunch of people afterwards to create that energetic balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I do want to move on to some of the other topics we have today, but when Jacob and I have single guests on the podcast, we do play a little bit with word association. So to put a bit of a button on this, I'm going to put each of you from the fellowship on the spot, and I'm going to ask you to summarize your experience in one word, just the first word that comes to mind. No pressure, starting with Alexis.
Chaos. Sorry,
Great.
but that's what it's for me.
Let's go to Juan.
Transformation.
Flo.
Woo! Is that a
Totally
good word?
That works. Rudy.
I'm going to give you two. And it's going to be the one that I used previously, which was empowering. And when we were showing everything off, like it's so empowering to have. The other word is going to be humbling.
Humbling. Yeah. Good one. Kat.
I like Rudy's humbling, but I'm going to go with
You can have
it.
What was the other one you were going with, Kat?
Oh, I'm sorry. Surprising.
Surprising. Very nice. And I think we've still got Robert in here as well. Go ahead, Robert.
Content. I feel like so much more confident that I can actually make content, which is weird. I'm a programmer. What am I doing?
That's excellent. And is anyone else? I'm trying to look at the participants. Is anyone else from the fellowship in the session who just wants to throw a word out there? You can also just use the chat if you can't unmute yourself. Cool. Okay, fantastic, everyone. Thank you so much for chatting about the fellowship. What a journey. Can't wait to see where all of you go and what the next one looks like. We're going to move on now and chat a little bit about Unreal Fest Seattle. This will be kind of a general discussion about what Unreal Fest is and how to make the most out of an Unreal Fest experience. The Seattle one's going to be a little bit new. Curious how many people here have already been to an Unreal Fest in the past? Roughly half, yes, and probably some more in our silent audience as well. How many people are specifically going to Unreal Fest Seattle?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
I haven't bought the plane tickets yet, but I did get in early enough to snag one of the actual event tickets.
Yeah.
This just reminded me to book my hotel, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got Robert and Whit there as well. Yeah, and I guess to kind of segue out of the fellowship, I don't want to like bring the mood down, but like everyone from the fellowship is going to have their games featured at Unreal Fest Seattle, which is amazing. But I just want to say that like it's kind of a bummer that no one from the fellowship is being given like a discount or anything to help get them to Seattle. So that's a bit of a shame to me, but I think we're all still really excited to get to experience your games as part of the arcade that's going to be there. There's going to be like proper arcade boxes with, joysticks and all that stuff. So that's going to be really cool. But let's talk in general about how to get the most out of Unreal Fest Seattle. I do want to shout out Corey Strasberger, who had an amazing live lab last year that was very hard to get into because there was a whole cinematography, like, making a short film with mocap and all sorts of stuff. I believe you're doing kind of a next generation version of that this year. Some of my Agile Lens folks, June and Whit and I, we've all got some live labs as well. Is anyone else here? Matt's giving a talk as well. Yes. So first, let's just briefly mention, what those of us who are going to be presenting something at Unreal Fest are going to be doing, and then we'll kind of get a little bit more on how to make it as good of an experience as possible. I'll just mention briefly, our live labs are Intro to Augmented Reality and Unreal, Intro to the Configurator Templates and Variant Manager, which is a great way for switching design options. And with Whit, we're doing the Unity 3D to Unreal Engine, kind of like, let's hold your hand if you've done Unity and kind of bring you over. We did find out from Epic's legal department that we should not install Unity on all the computers at Unreal Fest, unfortunately, meaning we can't make a viral video called I went to Unreal Fest, installed Unity on all the computers, but it's still going to be a very fun session. Corey Strasberger, can you tell us a little bit about what you will be teaching?
Sure. Make sure I'm off mute. Yeah. So last year, just FYI, I didn't actually have a workshop. They just invited me to the one that they had. They invited the other Corey also. We just had
That's
fun.
right.
We just kind of jumped into it. But I'm glad they did, because that gave me some perspective about this year. So essentially, the same crew at Epic that put that on we're like, this year we learned a lot from that one. We messed up a lot of things. We too many technical problems, and so this year they kind of wanted to do a Xanadu themed thing, which was awesome. And then the core idea was to do like a Xanadu spot. So like in my world, there's like a energy drink thing. So it's really just going to be a workshop about learning sequencer. We're going to have a guy in mocap that there's going to be like 30 computers. So we're testing this week if we can multicast live face animation, audio, and body data to 30 different computers. And so everyone will go through like a motion capture session. We're going to do a little bit of VCam. I'm going to just give some quick tips and tricks on how to set up cameras and things like that. But ultimately, the fun part is that we're building out this Xanadu spot kind of modularly so that people can just kind of drag and drop in a lot of really cool content. And I think the fun part's going to be that it's this high speed sort of like pod racing Star Wars kind of theme thing where it's like Blue, my character, is like battling with other characters and there's bombs and all kinds of stuff happening. So when you get into it, it's going to be, I think, a pretty fun scene to actually get your hands on a VCam or to like throw in your own custom cameras and then basically make your own sort of spin on the commercial. I think that's basically covers the bulk of it.
Yeah, what a blast. And the live labs, by the way, they have limits of, as Corey alluded to, 30 computers, and signups are going to go live as soon as Unreal Fest sells out, assuming it will sell out. The price is higher this year, so who knows? And even if you can't get into a lab you want, say you try to get into the Corey Strasberger lab and you can't, that's okay. Fear not. I have found that in all previous Unreal Fests, you can almost definitely get into a lab that you really want to get into by showing up 10 to 15 minutes early and just being in a wait line, because inevitably there's 17 to 20 different talks going on at any given moment, and people get caught up talking to friends and new acquaintances and whatnot, and so people miss their slots. So you can get into just about anything you want to if you come a little bit early. So yeah, I know many of us are really excited for what Corey will be doing there. Matt, tell us what you'll be talking about.
I am unmuted. We need to make maybe at the end of that. That depends on like the timing. I need to put. I'm trying to put together like a mocap animation like get together with some people from Epic and some other industry people I know that are coming, because it's like if you like these are they feel kind of long like at first, but like they're short. Like if you don't like schedule to meet with people, like it doesn't happen basically. So I'm trying to get like a lot of mocap people together, talk mocap stuff a little bit. So that would, at the end of that one, that would make like be a good time. I'm talking about. I used to write a lot of web stuff, so I made like a listicle title. Mine's 10 tips for designing apps in Unreal Engine. So like apps, like not games. And someone right under me did 50 tips for something else, try to outdo me like crazy. But I'm just gonna do mine's just 10. And kind of talking about it from just like a kind of solo developer point of view, not like like AAA engineer back end, like huge frameworks for like Ubisoft, but like just like pretty humble. Like I've been building these like apps solo for like a couple of years, and like just some like the key things that I've learned along the way. Which I feel like any like a high end designer, it's like, well, these are like insanely obvious, but like as a generalist, I kind of have to do like art and programming and everything. So it's like takes me a little bit longer. But I figured out my kind of workflow, and I'm going to just try to present like if I'm making a new app, like this is like how I like put it together, and talk a little bit about like the hybrid of like app and games and how that's gone.
That's excellent. And really quickly, I do want to hear both Matt and Corey Strasberger touch briefly on how does it feel for you working on something totally by yourself and just knowing you have control over everything and something won't get done until you do it, versus working with a little bit more of a team and having a little bit more of a divide and conquer approach? What are some of the differences you've noticed?
I guess I'll jump in. I mean, it's I've been doing stuff by myself for so long. I have to like dig back into my memory banks when I used to work on our game. Honestly, I love working with a team of people. I feel like there's just an energy that I've been missing quite a bit for the last few years. But there is a really, it's great to be able to just go at your own pace. Like when you guys were talking about sleeping and working long hours and stuff like that. I mean, when you don't really have a real deadline, and I've been lucky enough to kind of like just work on Xanadu and not really be that worried about how quickly or that it becomes successful or not. At least out in the past, that was the case. Now it's a little bit different because the last couple of years I haven't been able to work on anything. Thus, I'm kind of in a different boat. But there's some. It's really nice to be able to just explore things. Like Xanadu was always an exploration thing early on. That's why I was kind of doing it alone, but it wasn't my intention. It was just kind of like, oh, when I get this up and running, if it gets successful enough, I can start to bring teams, like I could build a little team and we could do some stuff together. But I never really, that's kind of where I'm at now. So now I'm just like, okay, I've had my fun, super great for exploring because I feel like that's how I like to work. And then now I'm like, I miss the energy of working with people and all that stuff. So I don't know if that answers it, but
Yeah, absolutely. Matt.
Yeah, I came from film, so I was used to working on like commercials and like a little bit of TV shows and stuff like that. So I was used to like these teams, but then kind of COVID really was like at that point it became like fully solo, and I still haven't like fully emerged like out of that. But I would say one of the things that's hard is to not get comfortable when you work. You have no boss. Like it's great, like no one's telling you to do it, but I think
But
some
no
of my
one's telling
best
you to do it.
experiments and like random videos have come from like being able to do like whatever I wanted for a long time. But like the comfort is bad. You have to be hungry. You got to stay hungry. Uh, and if you're like a solo entrepreneur, it's like you need to be making products that make revenue. Can't be screwing around all the time. I've learned I've learned recently, and I've actually like I I really like my projects, but I've actually had like a couple interviews with a couple of AAA's recently, and like been talking about like what it would look like to work on bigger projects and work at like some of these like different companies, either as contract or like something other than solo. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to throw the same question to Corey Williams as well. And my particular kind of zoomed in version of that is Corey has such an incredible sense of how to perform as so many different characters. And I feel like you do a really good job of directing yourself. But sometimes you do bring in other actors, especially for some of the short films you've done recently. How do you decide whether you think you can handle doing something all on your own or whether you think there'd be a real benefit in bringing in someone, maybe someone who hasn't even worked with this technology before?
I think I'm a weird type. I just start moving. I don't ask a whole lot of questions. I get an idea and I go, I'm going to do this one way or another. It's going to get done no matter how hard it is. I mean, that's why I pivoted so much. And I feel like my whole life has been R&D, but like I'm also the type of person that doesn't have a destination. I'm just constantly driving. I love to drive. I love to go. So bringing new people in and taking on those things, if I see somebody who shows some sort of talent or shows that they're really excited about something, I want to be around excited people. Even if they don't know anything about this tech, hey, if you're excited, you're going to learn fast. Come on, let's go. That's why I love this community so much, and why I love to push it so much is because I see excitement. I see that, and if I can work with people, I will as much as I possibly can. But for me, like I've never really worked on a big team before either. I've literally been what I like to call self-unemployed for the last 20 years. I have not worked for anyone in the last. Well, I worked for Taiyaki Studios for a minute, but that was like, yeah, let's see what happens. And then I was just like, nah, I like working alone. So, but no, it's I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants and whatever. I do it if it's a hell yes. If it's a hell no, it's a no. That's it. I just move.
Love that. All right, let's dive a little more into specifically Unreal Fest Seattle. I've never been to Seattle before. I've been trying to get to Seattle for most of my life, and it's been kind of cursed because every time I'm about to go there, the trip gets canceled. Or like I'm living in Portland, Oregon for a month working on an architecture project back when that was my job. And every weekend I'm like going to Seattle this weekend. Never happens. So barring something that prevents me again this year, it will be my first time. Let's start with general Seattle tips. Anyone who's been there or anyone who's particularly excited about what they'll be doing outside of the fest there. Anyone have a thing where they're like, you have to go to the space underwater aquarium, whatever?
I was actually just in Seattle 2 weeks ago, so I can speak a little bit to this. I would say, and I don't know what the weather's going to be like in October, but there is right outside of Bellevue, and it's like a 45-minute drive or Uber. It's not like easy to get to. Is where all like the wine country is right outside of Seattle. and there's this one area, I can't remember the name of it, that has like one road that has like 20 different like wine tasting rooms. And so what my pro tip is, you just take the Uber out there, and for a couple hours you just go one after another and after another, and they don't serve food, so you're going to be totally sloshed, and then by the time you get back to Seattle, you'll be ready for a nice meal, and there's plenty of great places to eat. So that's my pro tip. But there is actually some amazing food in Seattle. I will say it's harder to find, in my opinion. Just a lot of the like normal like TripAdvisor, Michelin Guide, like all that kind of stuff, I find is pretty sparse there. But like there's some awesome food, some amazing seafood. Definitely recommend getting out and trying to find that.
Anyone else?
I lived there for 4 years, actually.
Oh, cool, Kat.
Yeah. I got tired of the overcast weather personally, so I will say in October it is quite rainy and quite overcast, so do kind of prepare for that. But it is beautiful, and I can confirm about the wine tasting. I actually lived in Bellevue myself, so
What's the name of that area that I'm
um
forgetting?
I can't remember, but I would go to what was the name of that winery? Chateau Saint Michel or something. And it was beautiful. It was like it looked like a castle. Like I think they would even hold like concerts and stuff there, and it was just stunning. And I think it's around in the same area. So definitely check that out. Definitely do like the touristy stuff like Pike's Place and like watch the fish toss and all that stuff. Like it's just you got to do that. And I actually worked like a block from there, so I would always kind of like pass by there on my way to work. So it's a cool city. I just got tired of all the dark.
How is it as a walking city? So I'm looking at the official hotel map, and it seems like everything's within a couple blocks of the Seattle Convention Center. By the way, there's 2 Seattle Convention Centers. This one is at Unreal Fest will be at Summit, so don't go to the wrong one. Do you think, Kat, it'll be pretty okay just walking from your hotel to the convention center?
It is, but I gotta warn you, it is hilly in some areas. Like, be prepared to like get a workout, because man, like some of those hills are killer.
Yeah, looking at the map, it's like, oh, just 1 block, and I'm thinking like New York City block, and it might be
Oh
like
no, and I
vertical, like
lived in New
San
York
Francisco.
for 10 years, so yeah,
Yeah,
it's nothing like New York.
good to know. Excellent. All right. And this is going to be, I think, the biggest Unreal Fest ever. I forget what, maybe someone else remembers what the attendance was capped at in previous years, but the past 2 years, of course, it's been in New Orleans. And this year, I think we're going to have something like 5,000 people. There's a lot more this time than before. So, if it's anything like New Orleans, similar to what Kat was just saying, be prepared to walk. Be prepared to walk 10 to 15 minutes to get from one session to another. And that's also one of the reasons why people often end up missing things. They're like, oh, by the time I get to the thing I wanted to go to today, it'll be half over. So I'll just stay here and keep, hanging out in the exhibit hall or chatting with new people, which, by the way, is fine. Like, don't worry about FOMO. 99% of the talks will be up on YouTube later on. The learning labs will not be, so definitely try to, go to Corey Strasberger's live lab and that kind of stuff. So try to do those if you can, because those are one and done. But for me, the most important thing about going to Unreal Fest is the people and just hanging out with people. And I don't sweat missing talks at all. On a typical Unreal Fest, including the one I was just at in Prague, I might see 3 or 4 talks. And it's not even like those are the ones that I'm like super excited about. And I'm like, I can't miss this. They're just the ones that I happen to be like standing outside of. And it's like, oh, there's no one around for 5 minutes, so I'll slip in. Anyone else who's been to a previous Unreal Fest, what's your philosophy in general about how to not feel overwhelmed and how to get the most out of it?
Rest. Get your rest in. Like, don't kick yourself for saying, hey, I need a break. I need to go back to my hotel to lay down for a bit, get off my feet. Like, you're going to talk. You're going to be super social. This place is like, this is where we thrive. I won't be there this year, unfortunately. I'm really sad about that, partially because it is so close to Bellevue see, Valve, I have a crush on Valve, and I would be camping out on their lawn. But no, it's yeah, you're right, Alex. It's about the people, but relax, because the people are constant. The sessions are time-based. So relax, for the people to give yourself a better time with them. That's my take.
Matt Workman. Go ahead, Rudy.
I was gonna say, like, I have a decent amount of experience at that convention center from a lot of tabletop and things. It was one of my favorite ones to hit on a pretty regular basis, because the convention center itself and the connecting hotels are just wonderful. They're beautiful. They're really inspiring to kind of like look at, but also they're really great meetup spots. And for me, like, I think Corey and you guys were saying was that it is so much more about the people always. And the talks, luckily, for Unreal, they're gonna throw up as much as they can on of the talks, just like it was a GDC thing. But the opportunity to be with people and to talk and drink a lot of tea with honey, supplement your water intake with that. If you're going to go out drinking, make sure you have whatever it is that gets you done with your hangover. And the parties, I mean, I haven't been to Unreal Fest, but every convention has parties. And you don't get invited to parties by hanging out at all of the chats or the symposiums. You get introduced to those by the people that you're there with. And it's always one of those last minute, like, oh, I'm going to this. Do you want to come with me? Kind of thing. So, make yourself available. Definitely take rest. Definitely drink a lot of water. Honey is going to be the thing that saves your vocal cords after all of that talking, even if you are not a loquacious person. And then as far as things to go, like, you're right there around the corner from the original Starbucks. So you might as well pop in and have the original burnt coffee. And then if you want to have like a break, right, Mock's Boarding House, there's a couple of locations there, and it's a really great spot to sit down, play some games, have some decent bar food, and just enjoy those opportunities, because that could be a way that you're like, hey, it's crazy here. Do you want to go grab a bite or go grab something over here and maybe play a game and, like, bond over those kind of things? It's just like in anything, it's all about the people and the passion that they have towards it. Like, I think Corey was saying earlier too, and if you instill that same level of energy with other people, that's going to be, the next project you work on, because they're like, he doesn't know shit, but he's excited about it. So he will learn it. They will figure that out. They will know. And they will only come to me with the questions when they've exhausted whatever pipelines that they've can't figure it out.
Two things I want to mention on that really quick. One is there is often not, I don't think it's different this year, there's often not a large exhibit hall, unlike some convention centers where you could spend all day there. I don't even think you can apply to be an exhibitor. Like, I was trying to help Looking Glass get into Unreal Fest last year, but it's really just, I think, Epic's like close partners who are showing off those things. If you or a company want to demo things or show things off, you can kind of sneak with grabbing a cocktail table and doing some kind of tableside demos. Agile Lens and a lot of the folks here from Agile Lens in the Slack, we did something kind of clever in New Orleans last year where we got an Airbnb a 3-minute walk from the convention center with a nice large living room. And so we brought people over to our Airbnb, also kind of, as Rudy was saying, to be like, hey, let's get away from the 1,000 people over here for a minute, go into our nice living room and check out some cool mocap and VR demos and that sort of stuff. So that's some exhibiting talk. I also want to divide out advice a little bit between people who are extroverts, who get really excited and get energy from going out and talking to as many people as possible, and introverts who might, be excited about what this event is going to be, but could become a little overwhelmed by the whole thing. So anyone have any particular advice for either of those boxes?
Well, I remember talking to you at the end of Unreal Fest last year exactly about this, Alex, because we were in the hotel in New Orleans. I was like, and we were huddled up with like 4 or 5 other people, and Alex was still on it, taking photos. He was like, let's make plans. It's like, dude, how do you do this after 3 days? It's like, I think Alex is like the ideal extrovert in that scenario, in my opinion. I definitely don't feel that way, but I think actually what I really like about Unreal Fest is, I think the people there are great. Like, it feels like a reunion every year, and that's always awesome. But there's also just a lot of interesting stuff to learn. So like if you want to just like kind of scoot over to a session and sit there, take notes, or like, or just sit in a corner and open up the engine and be like, start playing with something, you can do that. And I think that's actually what kind of saves the introverts in a lot of cases. At least I could speak for myself, because I definitely feel that way.
There's also a lot of the actual Epic Games employees there. So if you want to track down the person who like created a certain CVAR or is working on a nanite workflow or whatever, there's a very good chance you can find that explicit person. Like, don't stalk them, but there's good opportunities to just be like, hey, can we talk about this workflow or the roadmap or whatever? And most of the Epic employees are super excited to talk shop with you.
Here's something else too. Like I'm an extreme extrovert. Like I am, if there's a party, I'm in the middle of it. Like if there's anything, that's me. But one thing that for introverts that really helps, especially at Unreal Fest, and what I've kind of noticed has worked really well, especially for me, is like, instead of asking, hey, what do you do? Say, what do you like to do? Mm. Like, especially at these events, because people are there not because they're like, I have to go to this other convention. Like, no, people are at this because they love this, not necessarily because like, oh, well, I have to do this for my work. There's something else. There's a deeper reason. So when you ask that question, you get more meaningful conversations. So what do you like to do instead of what do you do? Like, such a big, you will get into their soul and you will become friends. It's like, yeah. Super important.
Exactly. How do you enjoy your time? And then the other note that I would give maybe to introverts is you grab onto somebody like Corey or me or Alex, and you are the wingman for it, because that person, especially like if you know them from advance, like they know what you're interested in, they know who you need to connect with, and if they stumble upon that, they will be the person that creates that bridge for you, and they will bring you into the conversation when needed, and then you can flitter away when it's time or you're overwhelmed or anything like that. But like, it's always good to have a team in those scenarios, unless of course you're just like an all-out marathon sprinter and you don't have time to carry anybody else. But even extroverts need a group sometimes to retreat back to, and to have that moment where they can be like, okay, this is what I learned, here's where we're going, this is the next thing. It's always nice to have a posse, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking from an introvert side myself, like, believe it or not, I am somewhat of an introvert, and I haven't gone to Unreal Fest myself, but I have gone to other conventions like Lightbox. And the first time I went to Lightbox was by myself, and it was terrifying, to just like walk up to people and introduce myself. But I realized a lot of them and us are in the same boat. We're all kind of like a little bit nervous. So that was one really good thing that I kept in mind. And I had the best time because I just met random people and I made lifelong friendships. So
yeah.
Another thing you can do is in Unreal Fest, we have badges. Like, everybody usually has badges for the things they do. If you find a game studio or someone that you might recognize, give them their flowers. Go up, say, hey, I really love what you've done with this. I love this thing. Like, really compliment them, because like it makes you feel good. And that's another way in. It's like, I'm not saying to go and kiss butts while you're there, but be a part of it. Be a part, like that's why I'm like, how many times, Corey Strasberger, have I ever told you I loved you? Like, and your stuff. Well, actually, there was that one time. There was that one time. No, that was to my wife by accidentally to Corey. It was a different story. Now he remembers. And then, like, obviously Matt Workman. I love the stuff Matt does. I'm not afraid to say, like, dude, he's awesome. Like, he inspired me in a lot of ways. So give that to those people. Be a part of that. So if you can't find anybody, find somebody you kind of know, and just say something. Be positive.
Yeah, the other thing is lunchtime turns out to be a really great opportunity to meet people. I feel like that's where I've met the most people. You just pick a table and you sit down, and there's usually like company people, 2 or 3 people from a company. And then I've gotten to, you can either like scope out some people, or you can just sit at any random table and you'll definitely strike up a conversation and meet some cool people. And so that's probably the most effective thing I've found.
Yeah, I was going to say lunch.
It's quiet.
It was big table. This was Louisiana, but like there's like huge tables, that's what it was last time though. But like, yeah, the random people I met during lunch, it's like I like worked with them like a couple months later, on projects I'd like never met them before. And I remember like someone very, very high up at Lego I was sitting next to at one point. This is before the Lego thing came out. I was like, that's interesting. That's your job. It's like, and then so there's all sorts of information to be gleaned from the casual lunch, and all the meals it's basically all catered. So it's it's good networking there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Epic knows how to throw parties, by the way. If you've never been to an Epic Games event like this, they know how to party. There will be one night, I don't know what they're going to do for Seattle, but I mean, every year in New Orleans, it was like there was one night they would it's like they just threw the entire budget at one night. It was so
It's
cool.
gonna be hard to beat that tour through that whole huge like float thing. That's like, you're not going to find that anywhere else in the world. I mean,
no, I mean, even last year's, that was 2 years ago, that one.
That was 2 years
But last year, what they did was they threw an entire carnival and had like all these carnival games, and you could like win stuff, and it was really fun. But they just do it right. And the food is always good. I haven't had a bad experience with any of the food they've ever done. Man, I really want to go now. So.
We're gonna convince Corey to come.
I'm gonna miss New Orleans though. I mean, it's a lot. New Orleans is a fun city. I don't know too much about Seattle nightlife, but I can't imagine it lives up to a place like that. No offense to Kat or any other Seattle natives, locals, or
Oh
ex
no, I
natives.
live in Wisconsin now. You're fine.
And by the way, Unreal Fest Prague really leaned into the club scene. Like the party there was at a place called Club Epic, no relation. And there were like lightsaber, Daft Punk style like dancers the entire time. And then there was a lot of after party. Like that party wrapped up midnight, and then a huge group of people were like, well, we got to keep going. And so for better or for worse, I was out till I think 4:30 a.m. Because we're in freaking Prague. So I don't know. Yeah, again, I don't know what it'll be like in Seattle, but be prepared for those offers at least to come your way if that's something you might partake in.
Drink plenty of water.
Yes, drink plenty of water. Eat some fried food. Absorb all that alcohol. All right. Anyone else want to say?
Activated charcoal.
Yes, activated charcoal.
Get some coconut activated charcoal, coconut based activated charcoal every night before you crash. Pop those. Helps you with both the alcohol and the fried food.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I want to point out, by the way, because over at Agile Lens, we're taking kind of advantage of what Unreal is doing for speakers right now, where they're kind of covering, this is new, they're covering flight, hotel registration for speakers, which, the price for everyone else is much higher. So I guess they're balancing that money somehow. And we were going to try to squeeze as many Agile Lens people into our 3 covered hotel rooms. But I did find out that they won't do cots, actually. Like a lot of times at a hotel room, you can just ask for like an extra bed or something. Not at this Hyatt Regency, I think. So just be aware if you are trying to squeeze a bunch of people into one room. I was told you can, but you're probably just going to be sharing beds with people. The couches apparently are possible to lie down on, but also there's plenty of good Airbnbs. That's again what we did last year and had a great time with that.
Wait, they're covering your flights? I thought it was just hotels this year.
Oh, geez, I don't know. Sorry, Matt. I'm assuming. I don't know if this is something they're doing for everyone. I've always been in this weird place as Jacob and I. Yeah,
kind of like half. You're like half an employee, kind of like, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, every Unreal Fest I've been to so far, I've had this funny position of I get an attendee shirt, and then I also get a staff shirt, and I switch between the shirts when I'm like pseudo representing Epic Games, and then when I'm more of an attendee. So I think we're really lucky because they have always covered me in the past, but this is the first time where they're covering other Agile Lens people. So Wit and June are also covered. I was assuming they were just doing that for everyone, but that's kind of a bummer if we're just getting some special treatment.
Man, I didn't know you guys were getting shirts. I've applied every year to try to get a talk in, and I never get accepted for talks. But now I'm like, man, I just really want a shirt. Next year, I got to figure out something to get in there.
Yo, did you get that statue? Did you see the one from Japan? The mannequin? Did they do that at Prague? Did they do the little statue in Prague?
No, they didn't do that. I wish. Yeah. There was really no swag or anything like that at all.
They got it for Seattle. Come on.
I know. be a great opportunity. And by the way, they tend to give you as many shirts as there are days of Unreal Fest because they want you to wear it as much as possible. And they also don't want you to be stinky. So also, if you're thinking like, you know what, I know someone who's not going to Unreal Fest, I bet they'd really love this shirt. Wash it or wear one shirt 2 days in a row, and there you have a nice gift to bring someone who wasn't able to attend the event.
What size do you wear, Corey?
Large.
Give it to Corey.
I was going to ask, but I'm not going to.
Well, I'll send you one. Like, I mean, I'm not a large, but I know people.
Yeah, just say
That's
you
large.
need like multiple sizes across the different days because you're going to eat so much food, and your body's going to change. It's fine.
Just wear them on top of each other. So
That's great. Okay, I know we still have like a whole other section of today's episode, which is crazy. This is definitely a supersized episode. Our season finale last year, we also broke it up into like a part 1 and part 2. Again, anyone who needs to go at any time, go ahead. But I do want to move on soon to I Wish I Learned This Sooner, part 2. Just an opportunity for us to share quick rapid fire UE tips and tricks, things you wish you knew sooner, things you want to share with the community. But does anyone else want to say like one more thing about Unreal Fest before we move past that? Other than it'll be great to see everyone in person.
Go play our games at the what is it, Fellowship Lounge.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited to see that arcade. Yeah, we should do like a proper like live stream of what all those look like for sure. All right.
Are you guys going to kind of get together and play those games as a group?
Oh, that's a good
It'd
idea.
be cool to jump in. It'd be fun to have each of you be like, hey, this is my game, this is my game. I mean, be the ideal scenario.
I would love to attend, but I cannot this year. But we are sharing our builds with each other. It's like on the side on Discord and on Slack.
Gotcha. Cool.
I mean, maybe
try
we
to
could set up a thing with an extra window so that we can have people, zoom in for to talk about their game prior to or during or what have you. I feel like we have the technology these days. Matt's got it all sitting right behind him.
That's very cool. I was also thinking if we collect all the builds into one Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever, just having like a QR code at the arcade that just makes it really easy for people to just grab them all and play them at their own, pace would be really cool because all those games are amazing. I was totally blown away on Friday, whenever it was, we were watching all the trailers. But actually, and real quick, because Juan, you mentioned it, do you want to just, I feel like someone should share like a little teaser of their game. So anyone who just has something ready to pull up, we haven't been doing much screen sharing this episode, but would love to just see a morsel, a little tasty morsel of that.
Yeah, I think I can do a screen share.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
This is so fun. Jeez.
All right. You guys seeing my screen?
Yeah.
With Unreal? Yeah. Okay. So I've been hopefully everything works fine. Works fine. I've been doing refactoring. How do I? Okay. Let me go to my start map. So you guys can see my splash image and menu and such, and then play in a new editor window.
Yeah.
Sorry, just one moment. I have a set up in my game instance to I'm not sure if it's the most good way to go about it, but the way I do it is during development I set my splash image and count down for the race to 0, so I don't have to wait every time I do test of my game. Okay, so this is my game. This is one of the stretch goal, but I spent time implemented. This 80s feel of immersive wireframe turntable. So there's two dino skater, the T-Rex and a Triceratops, and also this is what I wanted to do. You can still race the off-road car from the vehicle template, not necessarily any dino stuff. Let me do a T-Rex first, and we have USA tournament and Japan tournament. Okay, let's start. So this 3,000 coins is just a placeholder, and you guys can see that like secondary and floppy riders. Oh my god, let me let me do a it's
The
it's
physics are
cool
great.
to play with gamepad. Okay, and the other AI, they still have that this secondary animation, but because they are AI, they tweak just the precise amount of throttling and braking really well. So there's not as much of the secondary and animation during their race. You can see they keep things really steady there, unlike us mere mortal. But I'm gonna do some random wiggling for those AI riders if I have time. So the goal for this Japan tournament is hitting that weird rammed like a pyramid to the mouth of the volcano. You can see this is the fine meme theme. Let me try to outrace the AI. It's not a very long race, so if I can hold my wheel here, okay, I can. Oh my god!
This is fantastic.
Right?
Thank you. Okay, now I got into a really problematic, and that's a hack. I was supposed to not cross it, not being able to cross that barrier, but all right. So that like your goal is go to that how do you call it, the mouth of the volcano, and then you jump in like a kamikaze move before everybody else, so that you could win the race.
I think that's called a sacrifice.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm approaching this this pyramid stuff. Even though they look morphologically the same as me. Oh, someone reached the volcano before me.
You run out of time?
But my the friction for my wheel profiles is much better than them. That's why you can see some of them are still struggle with climbing this pyramid. And just a very quick, I think I can show you guys a USA map with a lot of highways. Yeah. Okay. So this is a Triceratops. I can change the way I go about this setup is I try to learn to use the data asset a lot, coming from my programming background, so that I can have some flexibility in setting my my riders like not a concrete option, and also not a concrete option for the dyno as well. Okay, how do I let me do a class default. Okay, and then I change to the different rider, and then I think we should ready to go for the USA tournament. All right. All right. So ready, set, go. Yeah. So the same mission applied. You have to race toward that volcano. I wish to do more pterodactyl, like the flying dinosaur, and also the riders should be fighting each other in the Mad Max style. But that should be after the Unreal Fest. Yeah, so that's my game.
I don't know if there's a better advertisement for going to Unreal Fest than the opportunity to play this at an actual arcade cabinet.
What
Thanks, Alex.
controller are you plugged into your Mac right now?
I'm doing keyboard, but I usually test it with a Xbox controller.
Is it wireless, or can you USB?
Yeah, wireless.
Wireless. It has to be wireless. Yeah, because like USB like doesn't work unless you like put it on Steam and they'd like do the in between layer. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard some fellows mention about the Steam thing, but I never got to test it. So usually I do wireless testing with my Xbox controller. Yeah, so that's my game.
Yeah, thank you, Juan. That's so cool.
I
Yeah,
love
thanks.
it. Can't wait
Thanks
to
a lot.
play it.
You get extra points for being on Mac OS as well. That is like,
Yeah.
and a non 16:9 monitor. You can see like the UIs for Mac OS is such a pro.
Yeah, I feel like we could do a whole episode on using a Mac for Unreal development. We also had Lila, one of our AgileLens interns here, who was coming from Pratt, and they did all their Unreal Engine stuff on Macs. This could be an episode. We haven't had Matt yet as a proper guest, and that could probably be half of an entire podcast just talking about Mac development. Cool, amazing. Thank you so much.